Okay, let's continue our conversation about solving percent problems. Another common way that you see in algebra classes is through an algebra approach. And so you may recall this more recently, since this may be a more recent class you took, an algebra approach. And so, again, I prefer the understanding the setup, but a lot of situations where people feel a bit more algebraic or maybe already have an understanding of the concept can apply the equation approach for algebra, right? So they memorize this kind of setup. P percent of n is x, p percent of x is a, right? These are the different types of problems we can get, which look like this here, which we completed on 7.43, the same ones, but now just doing an algebra approach. I think it's okay when you don't have context. The hard part for me is when you have context, sometimes it's hard to convert them into algebra. So just keep that in mind. But it's a valid approach and valuable approach to think algebraically, right? Once we have one of the equations, the solution x can be found, right? We can then um, use things we know to find those values that we're looking for. But you can see the setup in the equation that's made. So 125% of 25 is what number? So we just try to find out which one does this match up to. 125%, we know P of 25, we know and is what number. So in this case, that's situation A. 125 over 100 times 25 equals 3125. So that's another way to solve. You see how it's a little, you don't have to kind of set up the equation. The equation is like a formula and you just plug into it. But you have to memorize the formula. So that's why I think sometimes it's harder. But if you have the formula, it's easy to solve. 6.5% of what number? So we have the percent, we're missing the number, so that's x, is 156. So we have $1.56. So we have the A. So now it's this setup here. P over 100, which turns out to be 0.065. So it helps it if we convert into a decimal, that P over 100. And then you get x equals 156, and then divide both sides by 0.065 equals 24. So I think as soon as you, again, this, you could see how this is a little bit more algebraic approach, but you could see it's pretty efficient to solve once you know which formula to use. What percent? We're missing the percent. So you could see here we have situation C, x over 100 equals 72, cross multiply, I get 900, divide by 72, and you get 12.5. Right, if you want to see that again, x over 100 times 72 equals 9, right? That's 72x over, that's the step that's missing. Cross multiply, you get 72x equals 900, and that's then when I end up with dividing both sides by 72, and you get your 12.5. So let's take a look at these. There's some word problems here. Like I said, sometimes it's not as straightforward, but you have a situation, right? You want to leave an 18% tip. If the tip will be 18%, what's the total bill? So I want 18%. You have to convert it. 18% of 68.50. And I'm looking for how much, and that's situation A. So you just multiply those two numbers. The percent times the amount gives you, right, times your base gets your amount. Here you can see 2% of the daily amount is 85. So that's why it's 2% of our total daily amount. Our total daily amount, our base is 85. Turn that into a decimal, 0.02n, divide both sides by that, you have your amount. You could also set it up this way, the way I have here. Again, a visual. 85 is 2%, n is 100%. And then you write your equation to solve. So that would be another way. So take a look at that. And then lastly here, the last example here, you will see you have 240 out of 480 is what percent? So you have a setup here. It turns out to be 50%. You could see it, but if you were going to solve it, say there were numbers, you would cross multiply and you get 240 add 0 equals 480n. And then when you divide that, you get n equals 50 or 50%. We could have also set it up in a picture over here, where you have the whole 100% is 480, n is what percent, right, out of 240. And then you still have that setup that we had before, cross multiply and solve. So again, we introduced this equation approach because it's an efficient way. And if you know how to set it up quickly, then you could be efficient with solving. But I still think the visual approach is efficient and you could solve as we've talked about it.